Please remain standing as we now invite Tushao Glenison Rogers to open our conference with prayer in the Makushi language.
Miarmang yomlamu puram main kong yungong karawan konzuru. Opaba serta melapu ane menadam mang merugi huguru analepan zadanai opaba nase ramam mabut zadanai silpi. Paba legrafana suru anapu bai hetu ezeng President Tombe Minister Zamu Dombe Pulmambuai suru taimla robai nelu Tushau Zamu Senior Counselor Zamu Region 1 tabe Region 10 kru anale banzara hanai merube huguru opaba masabra nawlu te gomans nangongana te amul mugra nai podra anarang te gomans murawan it munul ana prum ku suru taimla muram teng tunam per karah boy paba ana pikat kuze karah Lord Jesus Christ.
Shall we all now say the national pledge? I pledge myself to honor always the flag of Guyana and to be loyal to my country, to be obedient to the laws of Guyana, to love my fellow citizens, and to dedicate my energies towards the happiness and prosperity of Guyana. Thank you. Please be seated. Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Honorable Brigadier Retired Mark Anthony Phillips, Prime Minister, Dr. Bara Jagdeo, Vice President, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Lennox Schumann, Honorable Minister of Amerindian Affairs, Pauline Sukai, and other ministers of the government, permanent secretaries, members of Parliament, and I'd like to recognize Honorable Member of Parliament Alistair Charlie and MP Dawn Hastings, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, Sarah Brown, outgoing Chair of the NTC and outgoing Executive of the National Tushaus Council, Tushaus senior councillors from the sub-regions and the sub-districts in over 200 plus indigenous villages across our 10 administrative regions, members of the various Amerindian groups and associations, special invitees, members of the media, those tuning in online, on radio, and on television. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the opening of the ceremony of the National Tushaus Conference here at the Arthur Chung Conference Center under the theme Good Governance and Fast-Tracking Amerindian Development, organized by the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs and the National Tushaus Council. It's great to be back together again. Let's take a moment and acknowledge the person that's sitting next to us and say hello. Good to be back safely, good to be back in relatively good health. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. You all look wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, the NTC is the highest representative body for the indigenous peoples of Guyana. The last NTC conference was held back in 2019. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there was no conference in 2020 or in 2021. The Ministry of Amerindian Affairs explored hosting regional Tushaus conferences, but was only able to do so in Region 9 because of the restrictions. So here we are in 2022 for another important NTC, the first for our president. And after nearly 2 years, by now we know his style, and this NTC will be no different. He will dive in on all matters of grave importance, ensuring that these matters are adequately ventilated and resolution of mutual benefit attained. So let's get right into it then by now inviting Tushao Derek John from Maraikabai for welcoming and opening remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. His Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, President of the Republic of Guyana, Honorable Mark Phillips, Prime Minister of Guyana, Honorable Vice President Dr. Bar Jagville, Honorable Minister of Marine Affairs, Ms. Pauline Sukai, other members of the Cabinet, members of the Diplomatic Corps, fellow Tushaus, and other village representatives, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the opposition, regional representatives, special invitees, ladies and gentlemen, a special good morning and welcome to yet another National Tushaus Council 2022. As the Madam Chair had spoken, it's after a break of 2 years, we are here again, and not because we didn't want to be here, but it's because we all know that the effect of the global pandemic that have disrupted the world. However, we are here today, gathered under this building, under the theme, good governance and fast-tracking American development. When we looked at the theme, I believe that it set the tone for this gathering. Good governance is the key for development. And I just want to take this break in trying to define what good governance is. Good governance is the process of measuring how public institutions conduct public affairs and manage public resources. I believe that we cannot see development if we as indigenous leaders and leaders of all scope, if we do not practice good governance. Good governance is the catalyst for true development. And I believe that that should be the motto for all of us as Tushaus who are here. Because we have a limited time in office. But let's use this opportunity that we practice good governance as we navigate the rest of our tenure here in office. We was elected just over a year, so we have probably 2 more years. And I believe that all of us have great dreams and great visions for our people. Our people have confidence in us. And our people have invested in us. And as we gather here in these 5 days, let us make full use of this period that we will spend here. So when we go back, we can go back with the gospel, the good news to our people. And we could go back and tell them that we have achieved our objective. Because when we looked around the world today, in no other country except Guyana, that we could have indigenous leaders sitting with the government, with the Excellency, the President, and ministers for 5 days. So that tells us that we have a government that wants to listen to us, that we have a government that cares for us, that we have a government that is willing to support us. The government is our greatest partner in developing our communities. So, fellow Tushaus, let us count ourselves very fortunate with other indigenous people right across the globe. We are here today and for the rest of the week. We have a lot of issues. Some of our issues that we bring, some of it are common to all of us, but some of our issues are unique based on village to village. Let us be civilized, let us be mature as we dialogue so that we can be able to resolve and bring solutions to the problems and the challenges we face as indigenous people in our villages. I want to just take the opportunity in thanking His Excellency in navigating our country through a lot of disasters since he took office. You know, we saw what happened when we had election 2020. It for several months there was a battle that was fought. Just after that, we had a natural crisis where we experienced severe flood throughout our country. And before that had finished, we had a global pandemic. And with all of these challenges, with the good stewardship of our president, we can still say that we were successful and we are successful and we are moving ahead as a country. We want to say a big thank you to our president. We have a leader who cares. We have a leader who is there for us. And as we looked around right across our country, we have seen the vast transformation that is taking place. And I am appealing to you, let us be part of this national transformation. I know that we can do it, and we will do it, because we have great leaders among us. We have men and women who have toiled day and night. And I'm saying that because I'm a fellow Tushao. I know the sacrifice, I know the challenges that we face on a daily basis. Being a leader, it's not an easy task. I've been there, and I'm here, and I am willing to serve my people. I am encourage all of us who are gathered here today. Let us fashion a pathway that we, as indigenous people, we can truly benefit from the resources that our country have. And we have seen already benefits coming into various communities and villages. But we are here because we want to see more. And that is why we have to use this platform as we make proposals, recommendations, that we will be able to work with the government and that we can see that our dreams being realized. We must leave a pathway for future generations to come. As the great Mahatma Gandhi, sorry for that, had once said, he said that if you want to see change, you must be the change in this world. And so we are here, we are given the chance, and let us use our opportunity to make the change. May God bless our president. May God bless our ministers. May God bless the government. May God bless all Tushaus. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to Shao Derek John for that spirited welcome. Clearly, to Shao packed some Tacoma and must have had some of that for breakfast this morning. So thank you very much for just opening the curtain for us with that welcome. This is the opening of the National Tushaus Council Conference here at the Arthur Chang Conference Center. The NTC, of course, it's a semi-autonomous body comprising Tushaus in Guyana. It has an executive committee including one Tushao from each of the 10 administrative regions, and essentially the body is responsible for promoting good governance in their villages, preparing strategies and plans for protection, conservation, and sustainable management of village lands and natural resources, security, reducing poverty, and improving access to health and education and other critical services as they work with the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs and the Government of Guyana. Later this afternoon, a new executive will be elected, so we wish those contesting the very best, important and hard work ahead for the new executive. According to the program, we should have had remarks from the outgoing chairman. Regrettably, Tushao Nicholas Fredericks of Shulenab is not with us this morning, but we acknowledge the other members of the executive who are in the room. And now we will move along. The cultural item that we will have next, it will depict the way of life for most of you in the room, but we always welcome an opportunity to those who may not be as familiar, a glimpse into the life of our nation's first people. So please welcome the Pakuri Cultural Group and Mr. Leon Couchman from Supernam Creek in Region 2 as he performs an all-time favorite of ours, Amerindian Man. Please welcome them.
Everybody, good day. Yeah, testing. The name of my song is Amerindian Man. Something goes like this. Who walks in the jungle from when the sun rises till it goes down? Who will go to sea, no matter there is a storm? Who can cross the ocean with a paddle in his hand? Amerindian man is the native of this land. Yeah. The jungle from the sunrise till it goes down. Who will go to sea, no matter there is a storm? Who can cross the ocean with a paddle in his hands? Amerindian man is the native of this land. When it comes to distance, we don't have no fear. Deep or the riverbed, we going down there. Fishing and hunting, we maintain our family. And when it's sporting time, we drinking Pambali. And now it's Heritage Day, so let's break away. Brothers and sisters, come out and say thanks to heads of nations who made this country free. We are a free nation, long live Amerindian. In the mountains with the animals all around, who bathe near the Kaicho Fall with the fresh water running down, who dance round the fire with a rainbow in his hands. Amerindian man is the native of this land. When it comes to distance, we don't have no fear. Deep or the jungle, we going in there. Fishing and hunting, we maintain our family. And when it's sporting time, we drinking Cassiri. And now it's Heritage Day, so let's break away. Brothers and sisters, come out and say thanks to heads of nations who made this country free. We are a free nation, long live Amerindia. We are a free nation, long live Amerindia. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Couchman, and we'll see them back a little later down in the program. Ladies and gentlemen, we remind you that we are still in the decade of indigenous languages, and so we are happy that you'll have an opportunity to talk more about the promotion, the preservation of indigenous languages during the conference, and we'd like to recognize Dr. Adrian Gomes of Mororonao Village in Region 9. He was conferred with his doctorate from Leiden University earlier this year, and his dissertation was on the Wapishana English bilingual programs. So we look forward to hearing more about the work being done in the South Rupununi with the bilingual quality education program. We also want to recognize Guyana's first plastic surgeon, another Region 9 person, Dr. Joseph Torres from Waweta Village in Region 9, and also to extend our congratulations to the son of the Kapong Nation, Romario Hastings, who was recently awarded a SID scholarship to do his master's in water and sustainable development in the Netherlands. Shall we give our indigenous brothers, young and not so young, a round of applause? On we go with the program here at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. This is the opening of the National Tushaus Council Conference. It's returning after a 3-year hiatus, and it's super packed with lots of important discussions this week. Recently, Minister Sukai attended the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues at the United Nations headquarters in New York. There, she was able to share extensively what's happening here in Guyana in the areas of education, health, infrastructure, agriculture, internet connectivity, and so much more as we share with the world what is happening with our indigenous communities and how the ministry is closing the gaps to bring them closer with the coastland. Minister and her team are continuously seeking to bridge national and international relations while building our One Guyana. Ladies and gentlemen, to address the opening ceremony of the NTC, please welcome Minister of Amerindian Affairs, Pauline Sukai.
Good morning, and Michelle, I thank you. His Excellency, the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Dr. Irfaan Ali, the Honorable Prime Minister, Brigadier Mark Phillips, the Honorable Vice President, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, Honorable Cabinet colleagues, the Honorable Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, and MPs, Minister of Belize, Honorable Oscar Requena, Minister of Rural Transformation, Community Development, Labor and Local Government and team, members of the Diplomatic Corps, regional chairs, regional officials, Amerindian leaders, Tushaus, senior councillors, and other leaders among us, special invitees, ladies and gentlemen. A huge welcome to everyone to the opening ceremony of the National Tushaus Council Conference 2022. Especially you, the Amerindian leaders, for traveling the long journey over road, water, and air to be here at the National Tushaus meeting hosted and funded by the government of Guyana. The National Tushaus Council reflects the political commitment of the People's Progressive Party civic government, who readily supported and approved the recommendation for the NTC to be established and legislated. Today, after 2 years, the leaders are meeting once again in the beautiful city of Georgetown. We all know that we have not met due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but here we are today, and I'm very pleased and happy to welcome all of you. The meeting is significant since it affords the opportunity to have a consultative conversation between the government and you, the leaders, on the challenges which affect your people and villages, while you share your village development agenda and priorities. As such, I expect that the 5 days will be truly interactive. All of Guyana is aware of the aftermath of the attempts to derail democracy and the legacy of underachievements in all sectors of our country, which demanded adjustments and required the development and deployment of resources to bring immediate relief to our nation's population and to reverse such stark situation. Amerindian villages and its people did not escape the onslaught of neglect over the 5 years that we were not in government. And yes, our government's responses to arrest the situation was required, and our government responded immediately as we took the reins of power in our country. The theme of the conference signals the approach for securing Amerindian development in the current fast-paced transformation to modernize Guyana towards a sustainable, prosperous future under the philosophy of His Excellency, One Guyana. The Ministry of Amerindian Affairs Development Fund continues to provide financial resources to fund productive and income generation projects, to support projects which impacts on women, youths, ecotourism, agriculture, culture and languages, social and productive infrastructure, thereby supporting the village economic transformation. The situation is fast changing, and it is evident and visible as you travel across the hinterland. Land titling remains paramount on our government's agenda, and today will evidence that in less than 8 months, titles for 2 land extension and 5 certificates of title will be delivered to the village leaders. This speaks volume of the effort to address land titling and demarcation of lands to Amerindians across our country. The ministry is pursuing the approval for 2 years extension for accomplishing once and for all the completion of titling and demarcation of Amerindian lands. Guyana is a front runner in addressing the development and the unique needs of our indigenous people. We have legislated a special regime of rights contained in the Amerindian Act No. 6 of 2006. Advocates of Amerindian rights are calling for a review of the Amerindian Act, while failing to recognize the special regimes of rights already enshrined in the Act. Our government's position on the revision of the Amerindian Act is clear. Consultation on the revision of the Act will be conducted in every Amerindian country across Guyana, including with other stakeholders. The revision will take into consideration the increased benefits and secure rights and will not consider the dilution of any such rights and must result in increased benefits and more secure rights for our people. This year, the Ministry of Amerindians' budget includes an allocation of 10 million to commence the consultation process by setting up the committee, the modalities of the consultation, and the training of the facilitators that will take on this huge, important task on behalf of our people, and will include specifically in collaboration with the National Two-Shows Council and you, the leaders. The ministry is also very pleased with the pace of consultation on the low-carbon development strategy and the inclusion in this consultation with our leaders and the villagers. Leaders are encouraged to participate fully and contribute meaningfully to the draft strategy, since it's a work in progress. To match the growing needs for knowledge and information, our government has re-established the ICT project, which will see by 2023, 200 villages and communities having access to internet connectivity. Many leaders have successfully constructed their internet facilities. While some have been awaiting their connection, this huge advancement of internet connection will open doors for increased opportunities for marketing, education, etc., and will benefit the entire village population. Essentially, to meet the growing needs for improved administration of village affairs and accountability, and to minimize the increase in financial mismanagement, training, and empowerment sessions were targeted as soon as we came into office. Last year, training was done, and this year, our budget has allocation to continue training the leaders. Similarly, the community service officers who were unceremoniously sent home in 2015 by the now opposition, today our government has reinstated the positions, as each village has a minimum of 10 to 15 youths participating in community development under the guidance of the village councils. The CSOs have benefited from training in information technology, solar installation, and maintenance, and certified drivers. The focus for this year training are garment construction, motor vehicle and small engine repair, and of course, tourism and hospitality, in conjunction with the Ministry of Tourism and other agencies. These areas these training will complement the economic activities that are being conducted in the villages across the country. As we dialogue in this week as partners with the government of Guyana, I ask you, the leaders, to ensure that you place your issues, your priorities, and your vision for development with clarity. But with us here, we have a delegation from the country of Belize, who the leaders met last night at the dinner, and they are here to learn from us as a country. As a country, Guyana is in the forefront of protecting, delivering, and ensuring that our indigenous people are a priority. The government of Belize, in November 2020, has appointed a Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs and is setting up the ministry. And therefore, at this meeting, in collaboration with all of you, we expect that the delegation will learn from you and learn from Guyana. So as we proceed to work together as partners, government, and the Amerindian leaders, I want to assure you that I am in support of all of the engagements, and I do wish you a warm welcome here at the opening ceremony of this NTC meeting, which was long overdue. And I also wish you a very successful 5 days of dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Sukai. Tushaus, let's see if we can do this very quickly, please, just so we get a sense where you are in the room. If you can just wave your hand as we call the administrative region. We'll start with the top of the map, Region 1. The Tushaus who are here from Region 1, just raise your hand so that we can see you. Region 2, Region 3, Region 4. We got a lone hand in the corner. Oh, we've got another one. Region 5, Region 6, Region 7, Region 8, Region 9, Region 10, Region 11, just getting there. That would qualify the other sections of the dome. Welcome again to Tushaus, and a special welcome to the delegation from the Belize region. Let's see the delegation from Belize. We can welcome you warmly. Sorry, I missed you earlier. And we also have our regional heads, the regional chairs of our regions. They are also with us today, so a warm welcome to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, from her Facebook page, we learned that this awesome creative, she's planning to take a trip to Region 9 in August. That's next month. She's going to be hosting a poetry event in Lethem, and she's received considerable support from that region. And so she's going there, and now we invite her to perform for all of us. Representing Guyana today in the room, please capitalize on this opportunity to engage with her. She may come to your region as well. Please welcome young creative Daniela Araujao to say a poem for us at this conference, the opening of the conference.
Good day, one and all. It's an honor to be here amongst all of you leaders. This piece is called The Indigenous Culture, and I hope you guys enjoy it. This is actually my story, or part of my story, being an Indigenous girl, living in the city, being raised here, and my mom living all the way in Region 9. This is my story, part of it, that is, and I hope you guys enjoy this piece. And it goes like this. I embrace my identity, the ethnicity that lives within me, a little Amerindian girl living in the city. They don't see it, but the very blood of my ancestors is encrypted in my veins. I've heard stories and tales of their trials and pains, their beliefs, their religions, their sayings. You see, I've always wanted to trace and embrace the culture of my mother and my grandmother, to see if it's like anything that I've read in the books. Thus far, the looks has been confirmed. I see my people and I know my people. Or flat foreheads, round faces, olive skin, slender lips, some thick, some thin, and the cultures of our forefathers flowing deep within. The beauty of the indigenous people and our culture is that it is unlike the ordinary. But you see, according to history and what I see, our culture is dying in a place that it brought to life, to light. Our culture is dying in a place that it brought to light. You see, over 12,000 years ago, my ancestors discovered the golden city of El Dorado, giving Guyana its name, its game, its music, its art, its culture, its heart. We played our role from the literal start. We are the start. And now in the 21st century, they're telling us to depart, telling us to depart from our own cultures in our own communities, as if they could ever walk a mile in our shoes. As if they know what it's like to survive out in the wild, as if they've ever hunted in forests to provide for their families to eat, to travel miles just to get an education, only to be labeled stupid. As if they can farm in the hot blazing sun for days just to eat, walk in jungles, fish in rivers, grade cassava, hunt for wild meat. to wake with the rising sun just to fetch water from rivers and creeks, as if they could never walk in the shoes of my ancestors and did what they did. After they've contributed majorly to Guyana and still are, from our influential Amerindian men and women who are still making strides, taking a stand, joining hands, and creating a difference from the top of the map all the way to the bottom. Amerindian leaders, doctors, teachers, lawyers, children, women, men, taking space and making noise, fighting to preserve what is rightfully ours. We have to preserve what is rightfully ours, and we will preserve what is rightfully ours. I want to hear you say that last part. We will preserve what is rightfully ours. 1, 2, 3. We will preserve what is rightfully ours. Amerindian leaders, I cannot hear you. We will preserve what is rightfully ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Look out for her as she collaborates with the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. She's involved in a project with other poets. And she's going to be working with some amazing young coastal and rural influencers, social influencers. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue with our program this morning. Just before we go to our feature presentation, I'd like to just remind you, our Indigenous leaders, if you don't know us yet, the Carnegie School of Home Economics, they are compiling a cookbook of healthy Indigenous recipes, and they have issued a call for submissions from your villages, from Indigenous persons countrywide, as a matter of fact. So it's a great initiative to see how many Guyanese dishes can be made from ingredients native to Guyana, and especially from regions 1 and 9. And you know who was cooking up over the weekend? Well, at least we saw him cooking up some beef curry and dal for Eid. Well, we've got to help him to cook an authentic pepper pot or tuma pot. So if you have some time on Friday during the state dinner, please share your recipes to make that pepper pot or tuma pot. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to invite for a humble but important task, our 2019 Indigenous Heritage Queen, Esther Marslow. She's now a semi-finalist in the Miss World Guyana 2022 pageant, a student of the University of Guyana. She's studying in environmental studies. And without further ado, please welcome our Heritage Queen, our reigning Heritage Queen, Miss Esther Marslow, for her important task.
His Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, was sworn in as Guyana's 9th Executive President on August 2nd, 2020. He is the holder of a number of degrees, including the Doctorate in Urban and Regional Planning from the University of the West Indies, a postgraduate diploma in International Business, a postgraduate certificate in finance from the Anglia Ruskin University, an LML degree in International Commercial Law at the University of Salford, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Management from the University of Sutherland. He was also a member of the Canadian Institute of Management up to 2017, and a project management professional. Dr. Ali previously served as project manager of the Caribbean Development Bank's Project Implementation Unit in the Ministry of Finance and was a senior planner in the State Planning Secretariat. He became a member of the National Assembly of Guyana in 2006 and was subsequently appointed to the portfolios of Minister of Housing and Water and the Minister of Tourism, Industry, and Commerce. During his time at the Ministry of Housing, he implemented the most extensive endowment campaign in the history of our country, backed by a massive distribution of lots to citizens of all social strata and geographic regions. In the National Assembly, Dr. Ali was also a leading spokesperson on the economy and finance. He serves as the chair of one of the most important committees, the Public Accounts Committee, and co-chair of the Economic Services Committee of the Parliament of Guyana. One of his proudest accomplishments is to be married to a wonderful and phenomenal woman and to be a father to an amazing little boy. Ladies and gentlemen, rise with me as we welcome our people of the nation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very, very kind of you. Thank you very much, please. Honorable Prime Minister, Vice President, members of Cabinet, members of the diplomatic community, but most importantly this morning, two shows, leaders of our first people. Put your hands together for yourselves. I want to also thank the technicians who are here. But before I do so, it is important, since we are meeting on the very first occasion, we are not out of COVID as yet. There is still a lot of challenges globally. But since we are reaching on the first occasion together, we must spend just a brief moment standing and remembering those who would have passed from our communities in this pandemic in silent prayer. Please join me for 1 minute of silent prayer for all those from our different communities who would have passed. Thank you. You know, many years ago, many songs like a lot, but I sat in this very room with a pen and a notepad in my hands, with many persons who are ministers here today too sitting in the very room. Of course, Colin and Nigel came long after myself and Ashley. And then Vice President now, or then President Jagdeo, launched this incredible initiative to bring leaders from our Amerindian communities under one roof. Not to tell you what to do, but to listen to you, to listen to your ideas, to listen to your needs, to listen to your perspective, and after listening to you, to craft together a plan of action that will improve the life of every single Amerindian community and Amerindian in this country. That is how this forum was birthed. And we as technicians had the job to record every single thought, every single idea that was mentioned here, every single issue. And just to give you perspective, after 5 days, when you will go back to your community, the then president would call us to his office. And we will have weeks of work to convert those ideas and to work on resolving those issues and to visit your communities. And then within very limited budget and budget constraints, to find the resources so that your lives can be made better. We know it from the first day. The difficulties in the communities, the challenges in the communities, the circumstances that you lived under, and the commitment of the government since then. Every successive PPP civic government was to do the best we can do for Amerindian communities and Amerindian people. Not just because we want to do it, but because you are no different from the rest of the population, and you must be treated in the same respect, with the same dignity and honor like all of the population. Those are the fundamental principles that we adhere to, that we support. So, like my dear sister said in her poetry, we will preserve what is rightfully ours. Very powerful words. Very, very powerful words. And that is what this government has done from day one. We have worked in preserving everything that can uplift your life, that can give you a better life, that can give you a better community. But in preserving all of what is in the earth, in preserving all of what we have to also ensure that we sustainably use what we have as a country to transform your life. Like her poetry said, there was a time when you spent, the women especially in these communities, sacrificed so much. They had to spend their days getting water, their days tending to farms. They did not have the luxury of time to get an education, not because they were not brilliant, but because the circumstances did not allow them. That is why the balance is important. We had to use the revenues from the very earth, from the very environment, from this very country, to make the necessary investment that allows you now to see the continuous improvement of your life, that allows you now to celebrate having children in top schools in this country, having children in universities, having high levels of primary education, high levels of secondary education. Your life and the preservation of your culture does not mean in any way, shape, or form that the transformation of your communities and the transformation of your families must be static. It cannot be static. The preservation of culture and the preservation of identity does not mean at the expense of the best quality of life that you can have. And that best quality of life requires resources. It requires for us to understand the balance, the delicate balance that is needed to create a sustainable environment. And what you can be assured of is a government that will work with you every single day to uphold that delicate balance in promoting your livelihood and securing your culture, identity, and the environment in which you live. Our message is the same every day of the year. It will not change if the country gets more revenue from oil. It will not change if we advance a low-carbon development strategy. Our message has always been consistent. You would never find a minister in this government or any PPP government standing in Parliament and saying that you should not be part of the revenues from oil and gas. If they say it, they will be fired the next day. I assure you that. Because you have equity in this country. We fought hard so that you can have equity. We fought hard so that you can be a part of the process of development. I stand here and I look at the theme of your conference, and it speaks about governance. And we have people in this country who today will write in the newspaper and lecture to all of you about governance. They will lecture to all of us in this room about governance. But really, the ones who should be the greatest example for governance is in the parliamentary system and the government system at the central level. When for 5 months, with the help of our international partners, we had to fight to promote democracy and secure democracy, secure your votes, secure the will of the people. And today some of them want to tell us about what good governance is. You will see the 5 days you're here, lengthy letters by some. Today we are here with you. The entire cabinet will be here for 5 days. And if you read some of the articles, you will be shocked. For weeks, this cabinet has sat down under one instruction: work on ensuring we have all the information available for the leaders when they come. Put together our plan so they can scrutinize it. They're not here for any fanciful exploration. They will be actively participating, bringing their plans to you so you can scrutinize it, you can take them to task, you can ask them questions in the full room and presence of everyone. That is what you call an open and transparent approach to governance and accountability. Accountability to you, the people. And if you read some newspapers today, I'm shocked, because the whole government is making itself available to you. Because the government is opening up itself to you. Some say that, oh, the government is taking over the agenda of this conference. If the government was absent today, the news and headline would be: government has no concern about the 2 showers. No concern for you. Let me be clear. We have no interest in taking over any agenda. Our only interest is to promote your agenda, to advance your agenda, to advance the cause of the people of your communities, because you have to go back and answer to them, and we have to answer to you. And that is why the government must be integrally involved here, because we are answerable to you, my dear friends. This is not a political forum. Everything in life, every statement, if the ambassadors or high commissioners make a simple statement, and you have someone who wants to be creative, they can create it into a political statement. Anything in life you can create into a political statement. It depends on what you're seeking to achieve. But let me be very clear. The objective of this conference from day one was to listen to you, to understand your perspective, to generate ideas, and to come together with a common plan and a common platform. That is it. The minister spoke about the rights of our Amerindian brothers and sisters. Let me be very clear. Your rights must and will always be respected by this government. Your rights will always be protected by this government. And your rights will always advance under this government. This I assure you of. But in the principle of good governance, we have to consult with people. We have to listen to people. You yourselves as Tushao, whenever you come to meeting with us, you will have a Tushao's meeting, a community meeting before. Before I visit the village, I'm always so impressed that you will have a community meeting with the people, and then you will have a document prepared on what the people needs are. It cannot be different when you're looking at an act, a piece of law that affects their life. They have to be consulted. Very soon, we're starting on even a much larger consultation when we will commence work on the constitutional reform, and the constitutional consultation for the constitutional reform will commence very, very shortly. When that commences, you will see a multifaceted representation of various stakeholders coming to every single community, every single corner of this country to consult. Because these are documents that reflect the will, that must reflect the will of the people. Your future must be no different from the future of anyone else in this country. Your aspirations must not be any different from anyone in this country. I'm sure by the time we get to the end of this conference, because the president will host you for a dinner, because we will have events to create networking and to bring you together, you will hear maybe another headline. Don't be shocked, don't be surprised. But these creators of these headlines and those who live on the coast would not put a headline every time we have an event of a national or international nature that brings them together, whether you call it cocktail, beef tail, side tail. You would hear nothing. But suddenly, the leaders of the indigenous people, the first people comes, and they are treated with the same level of respect, the same level of honor, and the same level of dignity, and you hear it's a different narrative. We are all smart people. Let us examine why. Let us understand why. This has nothing to do with CPA, LPA, APA, NPA. This has to do with dignity and honor and respect. This has nothing to do with representation of anyone. And let me be clear, these events are hosted because we honor you, we respect you, and we have dignity for the work you do in this country. So I think I've addressed some side issues and side show. When we came to you in 2020, we promised to improve your education, your health, housing, community infrastructure, access to water. We promised you better governance. We promised you a government that will listen to you. We promise you ease and efficiency in the delivery of pensions. We promise you better conditions in the delivery of health services, access to medical supplies. We promise you that we will be there in the good times, in the hard times. We promise you that the government will be committed to working with you in your communities, to visiting you, to listening to you. As I stand here before you, in just 2 years, facing all the challenges that we face, when travel was completely restricted for almost more than a year since we came into government, we have still, the cabinet has still managed to visit 97% of every single Amerindian community in this country. That is directly from the cabinet. if we did not have that 1 year in which we had so much travel restrictions. I can assure you that we have visited every single community and visited more than once. In my address to the 12th Parliament of the Republic, I acknowledge the special place which our forest peoples occupy in our nation. And I said that this is a circumstance we must never forget and must forever honor. I noted then that indigenous knowledge, culture, and traditional practices contribute to sustainable development. I highlighted your stewardship of the environment, often an underestimated and undervalued contribution to our nation's development. And I committed during my tenure to improving the lives of Amerindians. Specifically, we have promised, as I said, through consultation, to update the Amerindian Act, and through consultation, to update the LCDS, expand the LCDS, so that the value you provide in securing the environment, the value you provide in environmental services must be linked to an economic value that goes towards the improvement of your livelihood, your circumstances, and your communities. Solely at the discretion of yourself to be part of this. This is the only strategy globally. The low carbon development strategy is the only strategy globally that not only highlights a development path taking into consideration the environment, our forests, but it went further to say specifically how the actions of the LCDS and the implementation of the LCDS would improve your communities, your life, and how those resources will be invested to give you a better quality of life. The only strategy. And we should be proud, because sometimes we believe that the LCDS consultation only started with this second phase for the expansion. The first LCDS, which remains the foundational document under which this LCDS was built, had the widest consultation any other strategy would have had by any other country. Hands down, the widest consultation. And for the leaders who are here, let me tell you how accountable this consultation is. I don't know if Pradeepa is here. But if she is here, she will tell you that you can go now on a website and you can see every single comment, every single idea, every single consultation that was held. You will see it is downloaded on the website. Nothing to hide. So when people tell you that we have raised this and we have raised that and we did not get an answer, simply go, you can go on this website and you will see all that was raised, all the answers that were given, all the questions that were asked, and all the answers that were given. How much more open can we be? Nothing in the dark. Every single thing is uploaded on that site. Every single important stakeholder is part of the steering committee, and I chair the steering committee. You talk about NTC, APA, every single stakeholder is on that steering committee with equal rights. But with equal rights comes equal responsibility. That is the part of the equation people don't remember sometimes. With equal rights comes equal responsibility. But sometimes we forget that part of the equation. Tushaus, you are the center of attraction over the next 5 days in this country. I say to you, do not be distracted. Stay focused on what you are here for. You are here to represent the people of your communities. You are here to advance the development of your communities. You are here to work on a master plan, on sharing your ideas with a government that is ready to work with you in implementation of those ideas. Let us stay focused on that. Let us have robust discussions. Do not be afraid. Let your views be made clear to the cabinet members. Absolutely no fear in the room. Speak frankly and openly. Let us have an honest, well-targeted, focused discussion in advancing the welfare of you, the leaders and the communities that you serve. We are working under the umbrella of a singular Guyana, one Guyana. And the message is not only about us uniting, it is about empowering together, building equitable platform for development. It is forward-looking, transformative, and focused. That is what the One Guyana is about. It is not only the coming together of people. It is the coming together of ideas. It is the putting together of plans and development strategies. It is the unfolding of the transformation that we are talking about. In less than 2 years, when you take the current and capital expenditure, in less than 2 years, your government has invested more than $50 billion in Amerindian communities in Amerindian country. If you look at that as a percentage, you will be blown away of the whole budget. And as I said, a different forum, we will do the political comparison. But if you look at that as a percentage of what was invested between 2015 and 2020, you'll be mesmerized. You'll be mesmerized. And then you can make a determination as to who has your interest and your community's interest in their heart. That is not the analysis we have to make. The facts are there. If you look at water, I'll give you just a few examples. We have been able to increase our coverage in less than 2 years in terms of access to water in hinterland communities from 46% to 63%. And the target is to take it to 75% by the end of this year. Our plan is that by 2025, we must have 100% access to safe and clean water by every single Amerindian community. That is the plan. I was in Region 7 recently, and almost every single community spoke about the improvement in the water sector. Almost every, and better, what was more heartening, they spoke of a new approach in this, the consultation, the caring nature, just from Region 7. In less than 2 years, we have completed 20 new wells. And by the end of this year, we'll complete another 30 new wells. This by itself is a headline story for any international media. because this is what makes good news. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Amerindian leaders, I assure you, in the next 5 days you're here, you will never see this in the headline. Ask yourself why. Ask our, we must, as a country, sometimes it's important to reflect. Just quiet moments sometime and reflect and think. And we will see many answers coming before us. We are willing to sit and speak with every single representative group, as we have done before, and outline these very things. The question is, after that, are they willing to come back to the communities and say, this is what has been done? And this is what the plans are? I'm just asking these questions. Our target for water is very simple: to ensure that you have safe, reliable water that improves your quality of life, that empower women. Because, you know, as a child, we too went through water crisis. And I would remember that the persons who were worst affected were the mothers, the women, the girls. Because they had to wake up at 4, they had to go and get the water to do cooking. They had to spend hours every day just to secure safe water for the family. When we can take away that lost time from women and girls, they can then use that time to empower themselves. They can use that time to get an education. They can then be more equitably contributing and be part of our society. Those are the aspects of these investments that sometimes we lose because we only look at the numbers. But when we speak about quality of life, this is what we're talking about. This is what enhances the quality of life. And for hinterland communities, let me be very clear. I'm not talking about the economic centers here now. I'm talking about hinterland communities themselves, the villages. We have always said, I was from the Poverty Reduction Strategy consultation. The then President Jack Dale, Kobe, I even think the Prime Minister was at some of those consultations in the role he played then. We have made it clear, for Amerindian villages, water will remain a social good. What that means is that for your villages, as long as we're here, you will not have to pay for that water. That will be a cost that the government will absorb for you. For you and your communities, it's treated primarily for its social good and social value, not as an economic commodity. In agriculture, we have, by the end of this year, we'll expend more than $2 billion. And what is the goal in agriculture? We have listened to you. We have started working with you from the time we started the initiative of giving tractors years ago to communities with very limited budgeted resources. In those days, the resources was very tight. Very, very tight. But every single time the president and the cabinet then, and I wasn't even in cabinet then, but we were there as technicians. Every time they sat down, I would recall the president setting aside a specific initiative for Amerindians and hinterland development, not to be treated in the whole construct of the budget. Because government then, as of now, always wanted your development to advance, whether it required special attention. As soon as we came back, we have embarked on a project to give every single community tractor, trailers, the implements that come with it, to advance your food production. And I remember, that then came about by guesswork. That came about during the period 2015 to 2020, when we were talking to communities. You were hearing that there was no maintenance of the tractors. You don't have tractors, you don't have transportation. Whether it's ATVs, we have begun to make that infrastructure investment, that investment that is transformative for you. So the goal of this agricultural program is to make you food secure. That's the first thing. We must work on making every single community food secure. We are going to invest in the research and development to see what is best for every single community. And you have to help us here at this conference. Let us identify one item that we will work with the government on. Let us identify food security and come up with a hinterland food security plan that we will invest in to secure your food. Let us look at that. Let us spend some dedicated time coming up with that. So we can then work on defining the time frame as to how and when we can together say the hinterland communities will be fully food secure. How that food would feed into the education program of our children. How that food will feed into processing. How the excess food will feed into the rest of the market. Those are the weighty conversations we are ready to have with you. Those are the weighty discussions we are ready to have with you in advancing your livelihood and your life. That is why this meeting is so important. It is the transformation that is required and how you will advance this transformation. Because at the end of it, we have to have buy-in from you, the leaders, and from the people. We have to do it in a sustainable way. We can't just say no cotton burn. We have to work with you and say what is the most appropriate technology we can use to make you food secure, that will give you the production, that will give you the resilience that is needed with climate change, and at the same time will safeguard the environment. This is a type of weighty conversation. And when people ask you how you benefit from the oil and gas, or how you benefit from the oil and gas resources, this is the answer. The revenues must be used in an implementable time frame to make every community food secure. The investment will be made from revenues that will come. That is how you're integrated into it. That is how you're part of it. That is how it will benefit you. That is just one example. Our agriculture program must be aimed at making you food secure. It must be aimed at making food affordable and aimed at economic empowerment. The creation of jobs, the creation of opportunities, the upliftment of your lives. Very important. The Ministry of Health. Our health program is very simple too. It is to give you very good primary health care in the immediate to medium term, and then moving to excellent primary health care as we move forward. To achieve this, we need to invest in healthcare workers, the human resource capacity. We have already started. We have trained hundreds of young Amerindians across the country as healthcare providers, as health workers. And we will train even more If we have to train 1,000, we'll train 1,000 to provide nursing services for us as a country. This is how you are going to be involved in a transformative agenda of the health sector. Not only will you see a health center being built, but young Amerindians will be playing an integral part in the delivery of that health care and health services. We started years ago by having many Amerindians for the first time going on scholarship to be trained as doctors, many of whom are back in your communities and back in the public health care system serving the people of this country. And not only health care, but in every single sector, you will see specific targeted work to ensure that the young people, especially from your communities, are incorporated into the education and training program of the country nationally. So it's a human resource aspect. Very important in the healthcare is a system. We had a broken system. We continue to have challenges in the system. We know that the system is not where we want it to be right now. Because you still have ad hoc supplies, you still have issues with the service level. But the issue here is we have to fix it. We have to fix the system now so that you don't have to suffer from shortages, from late supply, from late delivery, from expired drugs. We are working on fixing that system for you right now. Because we can have the best health infrastructure, but if we do not have the system to support that infrastructure, then we will be wasting a lot of time. Linkages, the use of technology. We are not only investing in the hubs, and I know I'm going on too long already, and the sectors will speak, but we are not only investing in the technological services and the internet and the Wi-Fi for the hubs so that you can go online. It is going to be part of a master plan that will bring the use of technology in supporting local medical personnel in the delivery of health services, telemedicine. All of these, a smart approach to the delivery of health services. And these are not dreams. These are active plans that we are working on to enhance life here. The Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, they have launched a series of training programs, empowerment programs. They're working now on ensuring the system of delivering pension in the villages themselves work, because recently we found out that some of the staff who were supposed to take the pension to the villages were still going at a central location and calling the two shows to pick up the pension. And we have launched an investigation into that because the instruction is clear. The pensioners must be paid in the villages. That is the instruction. And two shows, I want you to understand this. But very important work in supporting people with disability, differently abled people, in supporting communities for women empowerment, for youth involvement. Many initiatives are undergoing. The Ministry of Public Service, they are working and they have been instructed to work in every single community to identify talent, to identify areas in which we can recruit people to be part of the national training program, to be part of the whole economy. This is the type of work that we are doing. In healthcare, so far we have spent maybe more than $13 billion in less than 2 years. in less than 2 years. In education, our focus is very simple. The education plan is to allow you to be the best you can be. Very simple target. Every single hinterland citizen must have the opportunity to be the best they can be. That is the output of the education plan. To do this, we have to invest in infrastructure, build more secondary schools, expand primary schools. There was a time when I was just about not even 21 as yet. When we used to go to the hinterland outreaches, Ashley is here, the vice president is here, he can tell you some of that. When the discussion was, can we get a little room, not a school, a little room for nursery education? Can we convert a benab into a classroom? Those were the early discussion. Today I'm so pleased when I go to these communities to hear the discussion now. Can we expand the nursery school that we have? Can we build a second floor on the primary school? Can we expand the secondary school? Can we get a technical institute? Can we get a specialized school to train agricultural people in agriculture? The conversation has changed because of the investment successive PPP civic government has made. Very simple. You can fact check it. Don't take my word for it. Go and fact check it. And I want to recognize the work of all those people who I know work tremendously hard in bringing us to this point. The Vice President and then President Barry Jagdeo. Successive ministers starting from Minister D'Souza, Minister Fox, Minister Colin Rodriguez, cabinets, technicians, but there's one special technical person I want to recognize and honor today. And I'm sure the Vice President would be very appreciative of this. I want to recognize a man who has done tremendously well for the people of this country, and I know how much he loved you. I know how much he loved Amerindian communities. I worked with him. I want to recognize the late Clyde Raymond Rukchan, Chief Planning Officer. I had the honor to work with this man, and I know today he would have been very proud. And trust me, in his entire career, he never had a single good headline. Even when he was in his final stage in his professional life, the headline was about his pension. Man who gave his entire life. He eventually was called to a higher place without having the opportunity even to enjoy that pension. But today I want to honor the work of Clyde Raymond Rukchan and for what he did for this country. Honor the great leadership of our Vice President then. So our plan is a very, very simple plan. It's a plan that seeks to involve you in determining what is best for you and in chartering a course with your involvement that is best and would deliver the best quality of life for you. In tourism, and I want you to be assured that we see tourism as a very catalytical part of your development. In my view, tourism will be one of the fastest growing sectors in this country. Tourism and agriculture are two sectors that we're going to invest in heavily. We're working every single day on opening up new markets and ensuring we have linkages to those markets. I'm hoping before the end of this year we'll have much more good news to share with Guyanese on how the results of that work in opening up new markets. But our tourism development is aimed at economic empowerment and job creation. We are working on a master plan to ensure that the people in the sector are trained, because we have a very different product from the rest of the world. So whilst we are doing the theoretical training with top institutions across the world, and many of your young people will be involved in that, we realize that it's very important that we have to also do specific training in a type of tourism you will offer the community level. Whether it's for bird watching, whether it's for sport fishing, whether it's for hiking, and that type of work is started at the Ministry of Tourism. We're building the infrastructure, the road network, the connectivity, to allow for that tourism to take off, to support mining, to support community development. I can go on all morning to talk to you about the investment the Ministry of Marine Affairs is making directly, more than $6 billion. The investment we are making from the Prime Minister's office in ensuring you have access to power supply, in ensuring you have access to ICT hubs, 30,000 new solar units, household units coming in the country, off-grid systems we are building, small hydro projects, billions of dollars of investment to improve quality of life across hinterland communities. The Public Works, Road Program, Ministry of Local Government, tens of billions of dollars invested in giving you better infrastructure. But there are also some direct things that we have done. The old age pension, benefiting almost 5,600 persons in the hinterland. We've increased that already in less than 2 years to $28,000. And I want to assure you that the promise we made will be kept, and you will receive that increase. We've increased and reinstituted the uniform grants, now $5,000 for every child. More than $200 million transfer just in this uniform grant to children in hinterland communities. We have restored the $25,000 grant to every single school child, an investment of more than $2 billion in less than 2 years. We have distributed almost $1 billion in hinterland communities in public assistance. We have distributed more than 1,200 empowerment grants with small loans and small grants to assist hinterland communities. Under the WIN program, we have trained close to 150 indigenous persons. We are now training people in skills development program, in the housing program. We are spending billions of dollars. We are expanding the hinterland housing program. Persons with difficult circumstances, we are supporting them in the hinterland communities. We have rehired the 2,000 community service officers that the last government sent home. And this might be important for those who keep records. Out of that 2,000 community workers, more than 1,500 are females. That is another headline that we should celebrate. More than 1,500 are females. More than $300 million in presidential grants, benefiting, that is this year alone, benefiting 220 hinterland communities, and $1.7 billion transferred to hinterland communities for economic empowerment projects. All of this in less than 2 years. I can go through every single sector to help you in your transportation needs, whether it's ATVs, tractors, pickups, ambulance. We've invested more than $1 billion in less than 2 years. Outside of all of this, we have transferred more than $700 million directly to more than 28,000 families in a 25,000 COVID grant we give. This is outside all of this. We have transferred hundreds of millions of dollars in flood relief. We are presently distributing another $25,000 for every household, hinterland and riverine household. These are the type of investment that we have made. And these are the investments that we'll continue to make your life better and to give you a better quality of life. I know this will come up, so I want to deal with it, because we had promised it in the budget also. I want to now announce that we will move the Tushao stipend. You have to clap before I tell you. We will move the Tushao stipend from $30,000 that you presently receive to $45,000. $5,000 short of what you asked for, $50,000. You will get it before, don't worry. But as the Vice President would remind you, we still have quite a few Tushao conferences to go. The deputy Tushaos will move from 20,000 to 30,000, a 50% increase. In this case, it is not the cabinet that is receiving 50 and 100% increases. It's the Tushao, the leaders of your communities. Senior councillors will move from $15,000 to $25,000. And just to avoid a barrage of letters in the newspapers, because you know, when we give the $25,000 for hinterland and riverine communities, you wouldn't believe the amount of letters I've received. Let me be clear on this. In order to continue to improve our systems and to make people more accountable and to keeping with what we would have committed to do, every single regional councillor in the administrative regions of this country will see an improvement in their stipend from $10,000 to $30,000. These are commitments we have made and commitments we have fulfilled. Tushaos, before I leave this podium, I want to say to all of you that you're not pushing against a big rock or a mountain. You're not pushing against a big rock or a mountain. I mean, I used to be a big rock at one time. You remember that? But you are pushing against, well, not against. You're pushing with a team that is honored and humbled to be your government. You are pushing with us together in breaking down the barriers and the walls that separate development from you and the people of your community. This load of development is a heavy load that we must pull. It is not the responsibility of the government to pull this load alone. It is the responsibility of all of us to put our hands together on the chain that links us together as one humanity, and to pull the burden of that load of development together. To pull the burden of the challenges together, and to look forward with bright faces, with optimistic faces, that once we stick to that chain that links us together tightly, pulling together only in one direction, a forward direction, all of us, all of your communities, all of Guyana would have a better, more sustainable, and secured path of development. I thank you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ending exactly at noon, mindful that our stomachs are rumbling and a delicious lunch is waiting for us. But true to form, His Excellency came out batting as he always does, batting for Guyana, batting for you, the indigenous people. So Tushaus, it's wide open hereafter. Your chief has spoken, and he has challenged you to think big. Yes, you can ask for the tractor or the school or the bridge, but see the big picture. You have heard that the revision of the Amerindian Act, it is on the table, and the commitment not to dilute your rights, your Amerindian rights, food security for indigenous communities, so much for you to dialogue in the coming days. So we wish you well, and thanks to Prime Minister Phillips and Minister McCoy, your villagers have heard in real time all the commitments that have been made. So it's now up to you to do the heavy lifting, or the pushing, as the President said, to ensure that those commitments are acted on. So let's give the President a round of applause. We're coming down to the end of our program, but I'd like now to invite back the St. Cuthbert's Cultural Group, together with Mighty Pakuri, as they perform our final cultural piece at this opening ceremony. And as can they come forward, please? Immediately after that, we will have the handing over of 2 absolute grants and 5 certificates of titles, and then we'll have the vote of thanks. So we'll have this cultural item now, as we remind you that later on the agenda this afternoon, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo will be giving a presentation. We'll have the elections of the new NTC and from tomorrow, dialoguing with the cabinet ministers from the various sectors. So we welcome now Mighty Pakuri and the St. Cuthbert's Cultural Group.
Naho, Helekoha Lokonobe, Dan Yunobe. Ditwaha Tamohu Muchabaka, Haloro Hakanaba. Da Ichi Yamoka, Bamata Piasa. Kenchawa Marita, Kakrasawa Bodeda, Da Oyua Moka, Bamata Piasa, Kenchawa Marita, Kakrasawa Bodeda, Tomata Pican Tomata Pi, Tomata Pican Tomata Pi, Tomata Pican Tomata Pi, Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Welcome all leaders. Hitwa hamuhara hitonano tanaho. Taro tarusa, use sawa bodeda. Kenka kro wandaha, wandaha to makuba. Chawa bukaha, harwa harwa kutaha. Kenchawa marita, kakra sawa bodeda. Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Kelekbahada di kahane tanaho. Ya ichi amoka, bamata piasa. Kenchawa marita, kakra sawa bodeda. Ya uyu amoka, bamata piasa. Kenchawa marita, kakra sawa bodeda. Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Tomato pecan, tomato pea. Live Matapi, all the way from St. Cuthbert's Region 4. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Mighty Pakuri and the St. Cuthbert's Cultural Group. May I now invite the following two shows to come forward as we prepare for the presentation of the two absolute grants and the certificate of titles. Ralph Hendricks, Tushao Ralph Hendricks, Arifa Shabir, Eve Samuels, Yvonne Pearson, Alvin Joseph, Alfred Joseph, and Shamir Khan. And we will begin with the presentation of the absolute grants. So I'll just give a moment for the two shows to come forward. Perhaps you can just stand here and individually you will go forward. We'll use the backdrop of the NTC banner and we'll invite His Excellency to hand over the absolute grants and then the certificate of titles. So if you could, Tushao, can you just stand here so that we can move one after the other? We will start with Tushao Ralph Hendricks of Kapui. This is the extension to Kapui, an absolute grant. And Tushao, you will move forward, President. May I invite you, please, sir, together with... So we're handing over the absolute grants along with the map to the respective Tushaos. This is Tushao Ralph Hendricks of Region 2, and this is the absolute grant for the extension of Kapui. Our next Tushao is Tushao Arifa Shabir for the extension of Mashabo Region 2. This is the absolute grant being handed over. Tushao Eve Samuels will now receive the certificate of title for the extension of St. Monica Region 2. This is for the type, it's demarcation. So Eve Samuels, Tushao Eve Samuels. Next, we'll invite Tushao Yvonne Pearson for the certificate of title for the extension of Mainstay Wayaka Region 2. Our next Tushao is Tushao Alvin Joseph of Region 7, and this is for the village of Tasserine, and this is the certificate of title. Tushao Alvin Joseph. This Tushao Alvin Joseph, Region 7. The village, Tasserine, certificate of title. Next, Tushao Alfred Joseph will move forward to receive the certificate of title for the village of Kangaruma in Region 7. And finally, Tushao Shamir Khan, receiving the certificate of title and the map for the extension of Yupakari Region 9. Very important documents that are not going to be housed in the village offices, but of course, to access for all the villagers to peruse. Thank you, President, Prime Minister, and Minister. Mr. President, may I now invite you in front of your podium. There is a presentation for you. I'd now invite Ms. Olivia Garrido, the Assistant Accountant in the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, to present a gift for you, and I'm sure he's going to turn the gift around so that we can all see. It's a beautiful portrait of His Excellency, always with the bright smile on his face. So you see the mentality and the spirit that he's going to be pushing that rock with. It's a bright smile. Oh, it's a rock. Well, it's a bright, positive, optimistic smile. So thank you very much, Olivia, and that's our gift to you, Your Excellency. And now I invite Honorable Alistair Charlie, Member of Parliament, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Irfaan Ali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Honorable Brigadier Retired Mark Anthony Phillips, Prime Minister, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, Vice President, members of the diplomatic community, Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of Guyana, Mr. Clifton Hicken, Commissioner of Police, and members of the Guyana Police Force, Honorable Pauline Sukai, Minister of Amerindian Affairs, and Ministers of Government, Tushaos, Deputy Tushaos, Senior Councillors from the 212 Amerindian villages in the 10 administrative regions, special invitees. Miarama, Kaimen, Wakapinamisang, Halikoha, Baukaya, a pleasant good day. I feel honored to propose this vote of thanks on behalf of the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs and in my capacity. We are grateful to His Excellency, the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and all invitees for sparing us their valuable time and gracing the opening ceremony of the National Tushaos Councils Conference 2022. I would like to express our deep sense of gratitude to the Honorable Minister of Amerindian Affairs, Pauline Sukai, for a well-delivered presentation. We would like to express our gratitude to His Excellency of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana for delivering an eloquent feature address. Mr. President, we are all inspired by your words. Tushaos, we thank you for your presence at this opening. We recognize and appreciate the cultural performances of Leon Couchman, the mighty Pakuri of St. Cuthbert's Mission, and also Daniela Araujo. We'd like to thank all the known and unknown hands that contributed for the success of this program. Once again, I would like to say thank you to everyone. With sincere feelings of gratitude, I say thank you and God bless every one of you.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. The opening ceremony of the National Tushaus Council Conference has come to an end. The theme, Good Governance and Fast-Tracking Amerindian Development, 10 minutes after 12. Housekeeping, I think we'll go to lunch and then we will resume with the agenda after lunch. Have yourself a successful conference, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this morning, and thank you for all who've been following us online, on radio, and on television. Have a pleasant rest of your Monday. May I invite the Tushaus who just received their titles and absolute grants to please report to this podium so that we can have the signing done.
Sure. Sign up for me, na? Where are you? Put it there.